Best vocals on the show, David, Hatchet Man Hall. Anybody have issue with that?
Is there issue?
No, everybody's on the same page.
Just checking.
Settle in. Friday, 97.1. You know how it's going to go. We're going to have Who Said It later in the show, and a little fun with some text that Mike sent Rico in the last week. You are not going to want to miss it. His live text while watching Avengers. We had some fun with that. You're going to want to be listening later on.
Especially if you're a Marvel's fan and you've been waiting for the sequel. Mike did this over the holiday a couple of years ago where he actually watched and did it live.
Mm-hmm.
These are his text messages that he sent to me.
We had to bleep some stuff out and have some creative licensing, but they will be coming to you later in the show. Rico, Big Ten, it's changing. USC, UCLA, they're on the way. And whether they do divisions, conferences, pods, the schedule's got to change. And CBS talked about it a little bit yesterday, some of their speculation. We briefly touched on it in a blitz, but you had a comment, and I don't think it was a throwaway line. I think it's worth exploring. You said whether, protected rivals and you can't play everybody, you would be okay with Michigan State not being protected. In other words, there would be every other year potential on the rivalry. They would not face off every fall. And I thought that's ridiculous. No one would support that, but you want to make the case for it, and I think you believe more people are with you, given where the rivalry's at.
No, honestly, it's in some weird purgatory where both sides I think people want to agree with it, but they can't because it'll look like a sign of weakness. Oh, we're scared. Oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, why don't you want to play us? But really, I do think that a timeout would do both sides justice. And then maybe it becomes fun again. Then maybe you have something to look forward to. But every year, like clockwork, we do this. And it's simply, let's just pray to God nothing bad happens and we get to the end and then we can move on. But it's like a dark cloud over your head. Yeah, I would love to say, if the Big Ten came out and said, you know what, you guys are only going to play once every 3 years. All right, cool. Fine.
No.
Ohio State is Michigan's main rival. It is. Keep that game going.
But your main rival is Michigan.
Right, but
that's not like a dig. That's reality.
No. But here's the thing. But it's not. It does that river doesn't flow both ways. So therefore, go play Ohio State. Michigan State can go find Wisconsin. Go find somebody else, and you play them. And every 3 years or so, you play each other. I don't know why this is like, oh, my God, you have to. Do you really enjoy it? Because I don't think people really enjoy it.
I'm not saying you're a coward or afraid. I'm not saying any of that. Why not?
I think the fringe lunatics has ruined it for the sane people who actually enjoyed it.
But, Rico, this rivalry's built on you've got a Spartan flag and your neighbor's got a Michigan flag, and every year bragging rights are on the line. I don't want to lose that.
No. But you had the bragging rights. But it's gone past that to now, I'm going to burn your flag, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. It's not, hey, Jim, made you some Spartan cookies. That's fun. That's good-natured.
Sure.
That's what it used to be.
I think it still largely is. You
but
said
now a lot of the
fringe
idiots
but don't let them ruin it.
It's too late.
Don't let them take the game from you.
It's too late.
So the scenario.
Because now, well, you know what? I'm going to be nice. But some may actually be high-ranking officials in Washtenaw County.
Okay. Here's the
deal.
Throw
the flag.
That's why we need it gone, because of him.
I dare you. Throw the flag. You got high-ranking officials in Washtenaw County.
But you can't let him take the game away from us.
He did!
No, he didn't.
He literally did.
The game happened, and it will happen, and it should happen every single year. This is coming up because when you go to 16 teams, if you play a 9-game schedule, you don't have to be a math major. You can't play everybody. There will be teams you rotate. If you keep divisions, you could play every year. If you protect the rivalry, remember Legends and Leaders days, what a time that was.
To be honest with
you can protect the rivalry.
And
I think it should be protected under every circumstance.
Legends and Leaders was actually the best balance the Big Ten ever had. People just made fun of the names.
If they would have just
if
made
you
it
actually
A and
looked
B.
at the equity, oh my God, that was it. No division was going to be a runaway, but we laughed. Leaders and legends. I'm just saying, I wouldn't be disappointed. I'm not going to shed a tear if the Big Ten came back and said, you know what, Michigan, your rivalry games would be Ohio State, Minnesota, and whoever. Okay. And then once again, you guys play because at that point it would be like when you play Notre Dame. You don't play them every year, but there's still a rivalry game, right?
Yes. But you want them to play more often. I think we all agree when those rivalries happen. Like, that's the thing we're losing in college football with all the expansion and the realignment. I think it's one thing worth fighting for are some of those premier rivalries. It's why USC and UCLA are coming over together. You want to keep these rivalries. It's unfortunate that Bedlam is being broken apart when Oklahoma goes to the SEC. We want to keep rivalries. It's one of the things that makes college sports special. So what I'd love to know is, if you're a Spartan or a Wolverine, how would you feel about the possibility of this game not being entrenched and played every year? And I know some people, they'll call in and they'll say, Lions fan for 42, like they'll give you their resume. I don't need a full resume, but I do want to know, like, are you a Spartan or are you a Wolverine, and how do you feel about this? Like, David, you're a Michigan fan. You want to play this game every year?
Yes, I do.
Evan's in there. Evan, every year, Michigan State should be played. Yes? Yes. So there's a Spartan and there's a Wolverine. There's some unity. That's not as toxic as you think.
Trust me.
You've seen some stuff.
It's there.
I know it's there, but you can't let those people win.
Yeah, don't let those people win. I
agree. I didn't mean it like that.
They're already winning. That's all I had to say. Honestly,
thank you.
I think this rivalry could take a little bit of a timeout. David, if your sons were constantly beating up on each other, you would separate them, right?
I would make them into UFC fighters.
Okay.
No, I would separate them, yes.
Standing in this corner.
Richard Williams.
I'll answer your question. Yes, I would.
Right. I think these two teams need a little bit of a separation because it's spilled over. And it's not fun. It's highly toxic. It's a bad relationship. That both can't acknowledge the fact that they're in a relationship, but they don't want the other to leave the relationship.
Hold on. We're within the week of the rivalry not being toxic.
It's basketball. I can promise you this. There will probably be so much security at Spartan Stadium, whatever day that game is in October. They're going to be waiting. I mean, heck, the first time that they played in basketball, there was so much security in the building that you probably didn't realize, but they were anticipating something happening. And it's not just on the court, something happening. It's in the crowd, something happening. That's where we are right now. All jokes aside, maybe they need a little bit of a TO. Maybe you'll appreciate it a little bit more if it's taken away from you.
But wouldn't that make it worse? If they play once every 3 years, that means now you're playing, it could be worse now because you get bragging rights for how many years?
2 or 3 at a time.
And now they're going to go at it even worse in my mind if you do it that way.
Stings even more when you lose because you have to stew and sit on it for years.
I'd say treat it like Notre Dame. Neither team plays Notre Dame every year, but still deemed a rivalry game for both schools.
Yeah, but it's watering down. We have too much of this.
That's not an in-state rival. I want to play you every year.
And David, if they play every year, fine. I'm saying if it were me and the Big Ten came out and said, you guys are going to play every year, okay, cool. Not shedding a tear. Plain and simple. And before anybody was like, oh, of course you say that because Michigan, I said it the year before when Michigan State won. I said it the year before that when they won. I said it a while ago when this stopped being fun, when State was dominating. So don't miss me with the whole, well, you're only saying that because you're scared now. You just miss me with that. Go sell that mama to your your mama.
248-539-9797. You want to jump in, you want to weigh in. This is one of those deals the Big Ten's going to have to figure it out. And if you have a creative solution, so be it. I'm sure they're listening to everything at this point because you could just keep the divisions the same. You could bring USC and UCLA to the West and hope that balances the power. It's a little better on travel as opposed to crisscrossing everybody. But I think the travel stuff's largely overblown. All these universities have
they got private jets. Or access to private jets.
Or the ability to fly whenever they need to for these football games, especially with how much money football's bringing in.
It's trying to make it so that, let's face it, you don't want to see a year where Ohio State played nothing but bottom feeders
Yeah.
and got a free shot to the playoffs. You don't want to see that.
Based on how the schedule rotates, it could happen, right?
Right.
Where if they only have one or two protecteds and then the rest of them are
That's why,
Illinois
honestly,
and Indiana and Purdue.
unless the easiest thing to do, once again, if you want to settle all of this and you want to keep two divisions, go back to leaders and legends and just kind of add Rutgers and Maryland and all those other teams in leaders and legends that weren't there the first time it was around. It works. Put USC in one, put UCLA in the other. Put Rutgers in one, put Maryland in the other. It's a fair division, and you're actually going to have a competitive championship game every year. Because you know how many times the West has won since they've gone East-West?
None.
None.
Zero.
None.
And some of those games, most of those games have been blowouts.
I think the closest you got is when Penn State had to come back. That was it. And I guess the Michigan State-Iowa game.
And that was just a different kind of game. It was low scoring.
Right. But other than that, man, blowouts.
Yeah, a lot
West
of them.
doesn't compete. All you got to do with the East is win. It used to be you got to beat the Buckeyes. Now you got to beat Michigan. Once you beat them, you're in. Because you ain't got to worry about that first week in December. That's just the coronation.
Do we need Michigan and Michigan State every year? That's the question.